Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. Oh, okay, welcome to the June full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 4. I'm Jessica Chait, Chair of the Community Board, and pleased to call this meeting to order. And I want to thank Pier 57 again for hosting us this evening. As you all know, Manhattan Community Board 4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability or extraordinary circumstance. Excused committee members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. For those who will be joining us via Zoom, we ask that you leave your cameras on, our board members, that is. This meeting, in addition, this meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel and a transcript is being recorded. The meeting will live on our YouTube channel and is accessible by the public. This evening, we have one presentation and one public hearing, which we will turn to shortly. Before we do, just want to use this opportunity to remind everyone that our public session sign up is made available before the meeting. At any time, people can email the office to sign up, and the day of until 6:45 p.m. So you have 10 minutes to sign up if you are interested. I want to reiterate that we always want to be welcoming and available to hear from the community. We also need to be fair and consistent. And for that reason, everyone who wants to speak must sign up before 6:45. Tonight and going forward, we are also asking everyone, we did this for the last several meetings, to limit their comments to 2 minutes. And because unfortunately we have to be out of this space and really all of our meeting spaces at this point by 9 p.m., we ask people to limit their comments out of respect for the rest of our agenda. Before we turn to that, I wanted to just share some board updates. First, most notably, I want to thank our outgoing board members. At the last meeting, I said we were anticipating having new members appointed. That has happened. But first, I want to start by thanking outgoing board members, Manha, who served on ACES and Waterfront Parks and Environment, Tina D. Felicit. I always struggle with this. Tina D., who served on CLU, WPE, and the Social Justice Working Group. Lowell Kern, who many of you know and served on CLU, WPE, had his hand in so many other important committees and efforts, and of course served as chair of this board during what might be among the most difficult times, the beginning and the first 2 years of the pandemic. And Charlie Todd, who served on ACES, Transportation, the Nominating Committee, and the Capstone Working Group. I hope you all will join me in thanking them now with a round of applause. We are so appreciative of all of their service. And look forward to continuing to engage with them as members of the public. With that, I'm delighted to welcome 7 new board members. I invite you all to come up. You know who you are, so if you want to make your way up here, we're going to ask that you introduce yourselves and briefly, with an emphasis on brief, that you just share briefly what motivated you to apply for the board, your name, and the neighborhood in which you live. You can come on up, and while that's happening, I want to thank, we held an orientation last week for the new board members, and I want to thank the executive committee members who joined them. Liam, we're asking new board members to come up, Liam. So if you want to welcome, you can join up here. I also just wanted to remind everyone on the board about the process. All of these folks have indicated their request for committees. They've also been encouraged to attend your meetings over the last month. We will go through a process of making recommendations based on what we've heard from co-chairs about the needs on your committee and their interests. And in the next week, I will be reaching out to each co-chair to discuss the potential applicants, and I will do that in consultation with all of the co-chairs before making formal appointments. With that, I just was going to go alphabetical. So Liam, Kevin, Max, Ella, by your last name, Max, Ella, James, Shanice, and Katie. If you all just want to take the mic and say hello and share again briefly a little bit about yourself. So Liam, yeah, sure. Okay, so Liam, Kevin, Max, Ella, James, Shanice, Katie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Liam Buckley. I was born and raised in Hell's Kitchen, still live there. I am not a stranger to many of you. I served on the board from 2016 to 2018, and I'm so excited to be back. So thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin. It's good to see you all. I got involved because there's a lot of issues facing our community, but that also can be opportunities. And I want to help try to be part of the solution as opposed to just not doing anything or complaining about it. So good to see you.
Max Gritstein. I've lived in Hell's Kitchen for about 5, 6 years now, and I love it. I'm a landscape architect and an arborist. I currently work for the New York City Parks Department, so all parks matters I cannot vote on. But I do love this neighborhood, and I'm very excited to be a part of this committee board.
Hi, my name is Ella Kim. I live in West Chelsea. I've got 2 kids. I used to work in the fashion industry for about 25 years, and that's what brought me here to New York City. So I've been a resident of New York for 25 years. I love New York. I think New York can feel like a very overwhelming place, but I wanted to figure out how can I serve in a way that was, approachable, and the community board seemed like a fantastic opportunity as a citizen to serve. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm James McDonald. I'm the Chief of Staff at City Meals on Wheels here in New York City. I live in Hell's Kitchen. I've been there since 2018. I've lived in New York since 2015. I love New York, and I'm excited to serve the community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shanice Mitchell. I live in Chelsea. I've been in Chelsea for about 5 years, native New Yorker. I really just wanted to get more involved with the community, provide some different perspectives, also just be part of the solution.
Hello, Katie Savage. Very weird to be on this side after 4 years of applying to this board. I've lived in Hell's Kitchen for the last 20 years with a few months in Chelsea when I first came here from New Jersey. I got involved with the community board through a nonprofit that I worked at, had been going to meetings since pre-pandemic, got a lot more involved during the pandemic and look forward to doing work. Thank you.
Thank you all. We look forward to working with you and serving alongside you. Excuse me. In just a second, we're going to turn to our presentation followed by the public hearing. Before we do that, I just want to repeat, well, actually, I saw a few people come in, sign up for a public session. It ends at 6:45. I saw a few folks come in. If you have not signed up, please find the sign-in sheet outside. It's 6:41. Just again, and I know for the board, you've heard this preamble, but I really do think it's important that we've new folks always joining us in person and online, that we just restate our guidelines on participation at our meetings, both here tonight and in general at committee meetings. Our bylaws state that board members are expected to treat each other, treat other board and committee members, members of the community, representatives of city, state, federal agencies, and elected officials, and all others with respect and courtesy while acting in their capacities as board members. We are also expected to conduct all board affairs with fairness and decorum. Similarly, we request and expect the same of all who attend our meetings as well. We cannot tolerate disruptions or disorderly or disruptive or offensive conduct or comment. We make space for each person to speak during our public session, and disrupting others is unacceptable and directly at odds with our desire and commitment to hear from everyone. We ask that everyone conduct themselves appropriately, or they may be asked to leave. Additionally, I just want to emphasize that all perspectives are welcome here. As a board, we strive for unity, not uniformity, and we do so by welcoming everyone. I also ask that we be open-minded, keep the side chat to a minimum when others are speaking, and be thoughtful about how we set ourselves as a model for welcoming all perspectives. With that, we are going to turn to our presentation on from the New York City Commission on Racial Equity. I believe you are here to join us, and we're delighted to have you. If you'll just give a brief introduction of yourself and then go into your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for having me. And I'll give folks a glimpse of my face so that you can say, in case you see me at a community event, you'll know who it is that gave that presentation today. So yes, my name is Lorenzo Van Ness. I am the Director of Community Organizing and Engagement at the Commission on Racial Equity. And I'm really excited to be able to tell you a little bit about what we're doing and how we want to get connected with y'all and work with y'all. So if you, sure, no worries. So just to start off, does anyone remember in November of 2022, and you can go to the next slide, when folks were asked to turn over the ballot to vote on some initiatives, some ballot initiatives? Does anyone remember that? There were 3 ballots, maybe a little fuzzy, but yeah. So guess what? We're one of them. So in November of 2022, voters affirmed that they wanted to create a commission on racial equity. They also wanted to add a preamble to New York City's charter, which is a really good read if you like to read. And it really talks about and uplifts the struggle for justice and racial equity that has been happening not just now, but for generations before us. And so the Commission on Racial Equity, our goal and our mission is to hold government accountable to racial equity plans, process, and progress, and also to uplift community voices like yours in government decision making. And we are an independent 15-member commission that really wants to hear what community wants us to fight for. So if you go to the next slide, or you go to the next one too. Yes. So I mentioned the city charter. The three of the values that were established in the city charter are that our government justly values all talents and contributions, that our government ensures the condition of thriving for every person, every New Yorker, and that our government also embraces vigilance, remedy, and reconstruction, right? And this is actually a quote from the preamble, and you'll all be getting a copy of this presentation, so no need to say, I didn't get to read it. Don't worry about it. I promise you can read it at your leisure at home. But again, it kind of just highlights what I mentioned about uplifting the fight for racial equity. And so you can go on to the next slide. So our mandate requires that CORE, the Commission on Racial Equity, first identifies and proposes citywide community equity priorities. That's our very first mandate, and that's one of the reasons that I'm here today. So we actually released a draft of community racial equity priorities that in May. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get community feedback on it. So I'm not going to go through all the priorities. I did bring out some handouts that I left on the table out there. And they're also online. I can make sure that you get the link to the community equity priorities. But we want folks to comment on the priorities and whether whether we got them right, whether there's things that are missing, what language we might want to shift, and how we can bring New York City to be a more equitable place. So the reason we're doing this is because all city agencies and the city at large are going to be required to issue racial equity plans. First, they have to draft them in response to these priorities that we're trying to finalize in September. And then we're going to be responsible for reviewing those drafts of the equity plans that agencies are creating and giving them feedback. And the feedback is also going to come from the feedback that we get from community. So we really want to hear your voices and uplift them to make sure that government knows how we can make New York City more equitable. And I guess you can go to the next slide and you can keep going. Sorry. So you can keep going. These are the priorities. You'll get them in the PowerPoint, but there's also the handout. There's 3 sets of them. So how to get involved? Essentially, we're trying to do community engagement and talk to community members we've started last month, but we're doing it for the next few months and trying to wrap things up by August, the early August. So we really want to meet with any community organizations, community groups here in your neighborhood to have these conversations with community members and find out what folks want us to advocate for. So definitely, if you're part of an organization, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. We can talk about what it looks like to set up these conversations. And if you go to the next slide, you can also reach us on social media, follow us on Racial Equity NYC, on all the different platforms, and you can email us at askcore at core.nyc.gov. You can reach me specifically at lvanness, which is LVANNESS at core.nyc.gov. And yeah, I have some of the response forms with me. If someone is like, I really want to do this now, or I want to talk to you later, feel free. I'm going to stick around a little bit. I don't want to interrupt your hearing, but we can talk a little bit outside for a few minutes, or I can give you my business card, and we can connect. And hopefully that wasn't more than 5 to 7 minutes. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. And we hope to hear from y'all. Thank you. Take care.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think we can give a round of applause. Yeah. Thank you. And you're going to leave your materials at the front. Terrific. Thank you. Thank you again for spearheading this important work. We are going to move on now to our public hearing. This is on the Department of City Planning, City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. I'm going to let Jesse handle this, unless Joe, I see you just walked in. Do you want to handle the hearing? I think. Great. All right. So we're going to turn it to our district manager to handle the hearing.
Hi. So for anybody online who did not sign up in advance that wants to speak on comment on the Department of City Planning, City of Yes Housing Opportunities application, they should raise their virtual hand now. I only have one person who signed up in advance. Brad Hargraves. I see Brad online, so I'm going to bring him over. Brad, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, thanks. Thanks so much for letting me speak. I appreciate it. Kind of a sad day with the congestion pricing news and all, but wanted to speak in my support for the City of Yes plan. We need more housing in the city of New York. I'm a Chelsea resident, by the way. I live on 21st Street between 7th and 8th. I've been in the neighborhood for over 15 years. I've 2 kids in PS 11. I also spoke in support of the City of Yes at the Land Use Committee a few weeks back. One thing I didn't mention is that PS 11 is losing students. We'll have to shut likely several classes at PS 11 next year because we don't have enough kids. And many neighborhoods in New York are depopulating. And there's a lot of reasons for that demographically, but much of it comes down to changes in household sizes and the fact that we haven't built enough housing. Really, since 1961 and the zoning code changes in 1961, we haven't built enough housing. And the City of Yes plan, supported by the city, pushed by Mayor Adams, is a step toward addressing the housing shortage in New York City. And for that reason, I wholeheartedly support it. At the Land Use Committee, I just have to note, when myself and several other housing advocates spoke in support of the City of Yes, we were accused of being the Open New York contingent. I don't appreciate that. I've been a resident here in Chelsea for a while. I've never been to an Open New York meeting. I'm not part of Open New York. I'm a citizen and a resident here who cares a lot about more housing. So I don't appreciate those accusations, but do hope that the board can get behind the City of Yes and plans to create more housing in Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brad. That was 2 minutes. I don't see any other hands raised online for this hearing, and I don't see anybody here looking to speak unless there is somebody going once, going twice. Okay, the hearing is officially closed.
Thank you, Jesse. We are going to move now to our public session. I'm going to turn it over to Leslie to lay the ground rules and welcome our speakers.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica. We actually have a robust list today. Same as the public hearing. It will be 2 minutes for each speaker. We have a bunch of people online and we also have people who signed up in person. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. I'll just redo. Just like the public's hearing, it's the same. 2 minutes for each person, and we have a bunch of people online and also here in the room that could speak to any topic their heart desires right now. Jesse, can we start actually online? Because there's a few people that signed up about the application for 413, 415 building. And so if we can bring over Kit, Tollerson, Anthony, Michael Barrett. Can you see them there or no? Okay. Well, there's a familiar face, the former co-chair of ACES, Kit. Welcome back. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thanks, Leslie. Nice to see some friendly faces. While I am a proud CB4 alum, I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the co-op of 411 West 22nd about the proposed combination of 413 and 415 directly adjacent to us. You're hearing from me because the chair of our board had a previous commitment she unfortunately could not get out of. As a spoiler alert, the thrust of these comments is just going to be a massive thank you to you, to the Chelsea Land Use Committee, to the co-chairs, Carrie and Jeffrey, and a especially massive thank you to Jesse Bodine, probably the hardest working district manager in New York City. I want to thank all the board members, though, as someone who has been in many late meetings. I just want to say I empathize and I deeply appreciate the time and the brain power that each of you puts into making our community an even better place to live and work. Our co-op shared a letter detailing our three chief concerns with the proposed combination of 413 and 415 West 22nd Street, which, if it moves forward, will turn two multifamily homes that could fit as many as 18 families into a single mega mansion for just one family in the midst of a housing crisis, and a housing crisis that's not just citywide, it's a big issue right here in our district. Our biggest concerns in order were the proposed rear extension, the rooftop addition, and the removal of the party wall that currently separates the two distinct buildings. We just profoundly appreciate the board objecting to all three of those proposed elements of the current design in the resolution that came out of this month's Chelsea Land Use Committee meeting, from being able to read the letter in online. And that's all that we have to say. Thank you again. We appreciate your support. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Kit. Next on the same topic, I believe, Anthony, is it Lucente?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Hi.
Go ahead, Anthony. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. Yes, I also want to thank the Chelsea Land Use Committee for their letter. And I just want to speak and reiterate a lot of my points from last month's meeting. So again, my name is Anthony Lucenti. I live on 23rd Street between 9th and 10th Avenue. I've been a Chelsea resident for close to 10 years. I also own a small business in the neighborhood. This proposed multi-level addition, which is not just one story, although I believe the architect mentioned that it was one story during the presentation, but looking at it from my window, I can tell you that it's not. It has been disturbing not only because I see it right outside my apartment, but you can clearly see it from the street. And despite that fact, they have since raised the height and scope of the oppressive mismatched structure, further aiming to ruin the historic curb appeal. This addition will greatly reduce the light I receive in my unit, and as a result, this will decrease property value for a whole lot of folks, not just me. Tonight I speak as an individual, but since I am on my co-op board, which does constitute 2 buildings worth of residents, I do feel the need to share that this is of great concern to us all, not just the half of us whose units face south. I think it's also important to note that creating this Franken mansion displaced about 18 families who actively contributed to the overall local economy. Considering the housing crisis our city faces, that was already a big blow. But this rooftop addition aims to take even more from us locals. If we can't rely on the preservation of historical areas, then what's the point of having them reach such status? And why should my modest 1-bedroom that took me, like most people on here, years and years to afford and find and invest in, be dwarfed, diminished in value, and forced to literally live in the shadows? I believe the sightline should remain intact. I do not believe greed should prevail in towering over us longtime residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anthony. I believe we have 2 more people to speak on this, at least 2 signed up online. The first is Michael Barrett, and I guess Jennifer is not with us. Okay, so Michael, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Well, reporting live, the structure is right behind me as we speak, and as you can see, it is greatly dwarfing everything that they had said they wouldn't. So now that you got that fun visual, I would like to speak to you genuinely for a minute about why I'm here. First and foremost, I am a West 23rd and 9th Avenue Chelsea resident. I'm really here to implore that the broader board rejects the proposed work for 413 415 West 22nd Street, specifically the nearly 2-story floor addition that you just saw behind me. I'm just watching historical Chelsea disappear before my eyes to the whims of multimillionaires. Your colleagues at the Land Use Committee, who rightfully so unanimously, and I do want to say, repeat, unanimously rejected the proposal. I also, as the full board, also supports this rejection of a proposal as well. I mentioned this in a meeting, and since the last time I spoke in CB4 in December, their rooftop structure even doubled, and it was very interesting to see during that presentation, the architect said, quote, "We're adding the addition, but we don't want to celebrate it." And I asked myself, well, why even build it then? This addition became an overall Franken mention, as the previous person said, destroys the integrity of a historic skyline with this garish rooftop design, which, for folks who may not know, is meant to be an elevator bank and an office. So this is a protected area. Not only will this addition be higher than neighboring townhouses that you saw, it's also going to impact natural light, greatly affect the historical feel, and disregard the work that the neighbors have in putting into protecting the area. The Pier greed of buying out several townhouses, which has become a trend, is also greatly impacting the quality of life. And we just heard 3 other people speak about we don't have housing. So, like I said, I thank everybody here. You have always given me a time to speak. And I do implore that you also please reject this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Let's go to the next person on our list. Salvador, can you hear me? Salvador Munoz?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me join you today. My name is Salvador Munoz, and I'm the Director of Public Programs at Poster House, which is the first and only museum in the United States dedicated to the art and history of the poster. We are located in Chelsea on 23rd Street between 6th and 7th. Today, I am here to share a bit of information about an upcoming program that we are a part of called West Side Fest. West Side Fest is a weekend-long festival on July 12th, 13th, and 14th that celebrates the arts and culture on the West Side. West Side Fest is organized by the West Side Cultural Network, a group of 20+ arts and culture organizations on the west side of Manhattan, including the Whitney, the High Line, the Joyce Theater, and many others, including Poster House. With activities like the Shed Summer Sway, Tai Chi workshops hosted by The Kitchen, letterpress printing with Print Center New York, and of course, Poster House's 5th anniversary block party. There's something for everyone, including free admission at select participating organizations. You can see the full schedule of events at westsidefest.nyc, and we would love to share this with our CB4 community and your communities as well. So please feel free to share as widely as possible, and I hope to see many of you there on that weekend. Once again, you can find out all the information about West Side Fest at westsidefest.nyc. And this event is taking place the weekend of July 12th. So that's July 12th, 13th, and 14th. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Salvador. Next, Gregory Wiechok, and then after that, Patrick Davidson and C. Lee. Gregory, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Hi.
Your 2 minutes starts now.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Greg Wiechok. I'm a resident of Hell's Kitchen for about 18 years. I currently live in a Clinton Housing Development Corp. West 53rd between 10th and 11th. It's a medium income housing building. I just wanted to report the Clinton Housing Development as a managing company is not responsive or held accountable to the tenants in this building. I have had a broken air conditioner unit in my bedroom since July of 2023. It has not been addressed. I have health issues, and I had surgery scheduled for June of this year for my breathing, and I've had to postpone it. I've been told by the management company that they have not yet secured a vendor, or they have, but they have to pay the bill first. This has been going on since July of 2023, and that's just one of the issues. They're not responsive at all. Second issue is I have a balcony on my off my unit. There's constantly cigarette butts, matches, and cigars being thrown off the rooftop onto my balcony. And I'm just concerned that one day something's going to catch on fire. I've brought this to the attention of management, but I have yet to hear, this is a couple years now. I've been living here since 2019. They just don't address the problem seriously. I told them maybe put up protective barriers on the rooftop so that no one can jump off like they did a couple years ago with a child and kill themselves. Nothing here is taken seriously, even though you just keep trying to get management's attention. At Clinton Housing, they're a 501c3. They're in GuideStar. I looked them up, and they just don't seem to respond to the issues that the tenants bring to them. I feel I'm ghosted by the landlord. Thank you so much for letting me speak today.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Patrick Davidson. Seeley, not. No. Okay, we'll keep going down. Shantae Walker, and then I have Maureen Brooks in that order. Shantae, can you hear me, or is she not over yet? Okay. Okay, Maureen Brooks, there's only 3 more on the online list anyway. Maureen Brooks, Laura Barron,
Can you hear
and
me?
Scott Cousins. Yes, Maureen?
Yes.
Oh, great. We can definitely hear you. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. My name is Maureen Brooks. I'm also a tenant of a CHTC building, a different one than the previous speaker. Similar reason for speaking today. About a year ago, the tenants in my building, working with HCC, formed a tenant association so that we could address similar ongoing building-wide and apartment level maintenance issues, rent bill issues, and lack of consistent, coherent communication. And while we recognize that CHDC has done really wonderful work in the neighborhood and we're beneficiaries of it, we're turning to the board because we know that CB4 has always been supportive of tenants in the neighborhood, and we appreciate that. And we're hoping that the board can assist us in resolving some of the communication issues. In our building specifically, we have 2 elevators that, like clockwork, go out at least once a week on average, I would say. We have, we're a supportive housing building, so we have some tenants with disabilities. We're aging in place, and the elevators being out is an enormous hardship and struggle. We have other maintenance issues, and we can provide the board with our list in communications with CHTC. We were recently threatened with eviction, some of us who have received incorrect rent bills and they've never been corrected, and we don't get responses even when we send it certified mail. So we're just hoping that the board can join with us in helping to broker some better communication with CHDC and resolve some of our issues. Thank you so much.
Maureen, we do have a question just for the record. Can you just tell us what building, the address, what's the building?
Oh, sure. It's affectionately known as the Flats. It's 554 West 53rd.
West 53rd. Thank you so much, Maureen. Laura, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, your 2 minutes starts now.
Hi, thank you. My name is Laura Barron. Thank you to the CB4 members for your work helping our community. I'm really grateful for the time this evening. I'm also a tenant of a Clinton housing building. I'm at 540 West 53rd Street. I'm grateful that Clinton Housing provides affordable housing, without which myself as an artist, it would be very hard to afford to live in New York City. 3 years ago, I was also a tenant of another Clinton housing building, 501 West 52nd Street, until a fire in that building in May 2021 that started on the restaurant in the ground floor, displaced my son, husband, and I. And in 2021, CB4 helped us by writing a letter on behalf of the tenants at 501 West 52nd Street. The letter asked DOB not to lift the vacate order for the restaurant until questions were answered about their wood-burning oven, ventilation, and the fire alarm system, which did not go off the night of the fire. DOB has not provided a detailed response to CP4's letter, so we respectfully ask the board's help to get answers from DOB and FDNY about the cause of the fire and actions taken to address building safety as the DOB said that they would. To that point last year, 501 West 52nd tenants tried to get answers, scheduled a meeting with the new restaurant owners about building safety, but Clinton Housing told the restaurant owners not to meet with the tenants. They canceled the meetings and they have yet to reschedule it as they said that they would. We would love CB4's help rescheduling a tenant meeting with the new restaurant owners. After many attempts to get basic answers about building safety, Clinton Housing abruptly recently told us that we have 3 weeks to move out and return to the fire building, 501 West 52nd. My now 8-year-old son started having panic attacks after the fire and is getting treatment via a school social worker. Clinton Housing entered our unit unannounced last week And just this afternoon, when I was coming home from picking our son up from school, Clinton Housing told me they have an email from management stating if we don't let them show our unit to new tenants, they will unlock the door and enter our apartment anyway. So Clinton Housing is re-traumatizing us. We would just like to be offered a lease to stay at 540, where we have been living for the last 3 years, and we have asked Clinton Housing for this in writing. We appreciate the board's past support, and we hope to continue working together to resolve these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. The last, at least I have on the list for online, is Scott Cousins. Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, my name is Scott Cousins, and I am also a tenant of CHDC, and the building that I live at is 554 West 53rd Street. As Maureen had mentioned, well, first of all, my history with CHDC is that I was I think one of the charter tenants, and so I've been a tenant of CHDC for maybe 43 years. They have been, especially recently, more and more difficult to communicate with, and there's a list of complaints that Maureen mentioned that we have submitted with our newly formed Tenants Association. Me personally, aside from all those things like broken windows and the elevator and doors that actually hurt your hand when you try to open them because the spring systems are rusted and jimmy rigged in order to, you know, make them save a few bucks on the door. And I'm 67 years old and I've gotten bone bruises on my hands and sprained my shoulder and hurt my back opening this door that weighs a ton. But the biggest issue that I have is that and this relates to the greedy development of New York City and the West Side. Mercedes-Benz car dealership has an air conditioning unit in a new building that they were partners in building with Two Trees Corporation. I think that's how they're titled. And their air conditioning unit is like a jet engine, and it's across from my apartment building, like 40 feet approximately from my apartment building, and it runs 24/7, 365. And since being there, we have had several dealings with them trying to see why it is designed this way and why they run it this way. And they have been very difficult and lied and completely ignored
Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
That's 2 minutes. Thank you so much for coming. I am told Chait is online, right? Sorry.
Hello.
Oh, good. There you are, Chait. Yes. Go ahead. Your 2 minutes. We hear you. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I just got off from work. I reside at 554 West 53rd, a part of the Tenants Association meeting, and I'm sure the other tenants from the building have spoken about the different issues we're having, all the problems in the apartment. And so I just want to reiterate that, yes, that's been a continued problem. We have a problem with communication and transparency with the building as far as repairs and things. And I live on the 7th floor, and I have a leak in my ceiling from the roof that's been going on since before COVID. And every time that they say it's fixed, they come down to my apartment and patch it up, and then it starts again. And so that's something that really is a problem because there's mold growing in the closet, and it can be fixed in my apartment until they fix the ceiling. And so I would like there to be transparency about what they're actually doing to fix that, along with communicating to us about all the other issues in the apartment that need to be taken care of, because it's really unfair that we pay our rent, the rent goes up every year, 2 years when you renew your lease, and yet we're getting less for what we're paying for. So that's all I like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chait. I guess we'll go live now in person. Oh, did she? What's her name? I'm sorry. Melanie Brooks. I'm sorry. We have been told, I think your hand is up, but you signed up or attempted to sign up after the call time. So we apologize. But you can definitely get in touch, right, with Jesse and our office, and we can address any matter that's of concern to you. So we'll go now. Here, I'll give the mic off to Jesse.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jesse Greenwald. I am the co-chair of the Transportation Committee, but I am, to make it very clear, I am speaking in my individual capacity as a resident of Chelsea. And here we go. And I quote, "So, starting next month, New York City will become the first city in the US to implement congestion pricing. It took a long time because people feared backlash from drivers set in their ways. But much like with housing, if we're serious about making cities livable, we must get over that." End quote. These were the governor's comments only 3 weeks ago. And I assure you they were true then, and they are no less true today. What does today's announcement by the governor delaying the implementation of congestion pricing mean? Fewer on-time trains, more traffic, more congestion, more air pollution, more noise pollution, and fewer safe streets. And like it or not, the MTA put all of its accessibility and infrastructure improvement budget into the congestion pricing basket. So, for example, the MTA is currently only 28% wheelchair accessible system-wide, and now most of the projects to improve upon that will be delayed indefinitely. What does that mean in our district? Much needed improvement to the speed improvement project on the AC line, delayed indefinitely. Alleviating the congestion into the Lincoln Tunnel, delayed indefinitely. Improved bus speed down 9th Avenue, delayed indefinitely. And how about the desperately needed elevators on our West 23rd Street subway stations for our senior residents and those with disabilities, delayed indefinitely. I do hope that Governor Hochul will reconsider and do the right thing for her disadvantaged and disabled constituents, for the millions of commuters who use transit, and the millions of residents who suffer from some of the worst vehicular congestion in the country. Delays, disappointment, and today's announcement, it's devastating. Thank you.
You timed that, didn't you? Time that? Christine, oh, I'm sorry. Christine, you're next. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Yes, so what he said. I just want to announce I'm also acting here not as the chair of Transportation Committee, but as the co-founder of CHKPEDS, Pedestrian Safety Advocacy. And we are going to have a super sidewalk fest on June 15 between 10 o'clock, Saturday, June 15, between 10 o'clock and, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And we would like all of you to join us between 54 and 57th Street on the super sidewalk, where there will be a number of activities and art installation, super pedestrians, and other unusual persons like that. And so we hope to see all of you and your family and your children, and there will be activities for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. We will now go to Lisa. Do you want to come up, Lisa Wager? And if we want to next prepare Renee, is Renee in the room? Okay, good. And then Salinas, and then Alexa, just so you know what order.
Hello, I'm Lisa Wager, Director of Government Community Relations, the Fashion Institute of Technology. It's nice to be back in person. Hello and welcome to new members. Gosh. Here's the kind of cool thing that happens at FIT. 2 students met in the Fashion Design Associate Degree Program. One went on to get a BFA in Fashion Design. The other got a BS in Entrepreneurship. And they've gone on to form Odera, which is an online marketplace designed for disabled individuals, pioneering adaptive fashion's shift from being function-focused to fashion-focused, and also offering a guided shopping experience to the neurodivergent community. And a few weeks ago, they were selected from 5 finalist teams for the Pete Prize for Entrepreneurs, which provides $30,000 of incubator funding to an FIT undergrad or recent alumni team. The winners also get 1 year of free office space at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, as well as marketing, legal, financial, creative, and operational guidance on how to build and launch an innovative company. Isn't it great when you go to public higher ed? Each of the 5 teams selected for the final process participated in several months of clinics, workshops, and knowledge sharing by established venture capitalists, industry leaders, and mentors. The whole thing is wonderful, and We look forward to their success. Our faculty are doing important research in many areas, including sustainability. Cotton is the world's most popular natural fiber. It's lightweight, breathable, absorbent, and biodegradable, but it's got some drawbacks. It wrinkles easily, and it's too light for cold weather, so it's not as widely used as it might be. In a new paper, 2 FIT textile development and marketing professors look at a possible natural path to expand cotton's uses. Published in the peer-reviewed journal Sustainability, their paper, Cotton Cork, Blended Fabric, an innovative and sustainable apparel textile, compared the material properties of a cotton fabric with a 10% cotton cork blend, and the blend was found to be strong, pliable, easily dyed, resistant to shrinkage, giving it, the authors conclude, the potential to be closer to a performance fabric, a viable, sustainable apparel textile. More news as we learn it. Happy Pride, and it's very nice to see everyone.
Thank you, Lisa. Good to see you in person. Sure. Renee, you want to come up? And then I'm looking, I have a whole list. So Renee and then Celine's and Alexa.
I got it. So hello, everyone. I am here tonight in opposition to item number 17. We've heard the refrain of the day, we don't have enough housing. We haven't had enough housing since last century, early 1900s. Nothing has changed. Part of your problem is you're building housing for the wrong people. And instead of building Hudson Yards or Manhattan West, that's what you should have built instead. All you're actually doing is changing actually business from one place to another. So I'm in opposition to the letter asking for Related/Essence to take control of our campuses. First of all, this is not a redevelopment plan, it is a demolition. One thing that everyone needs to understand, the application has not been filed. The application has not been filed. We had a lovely discussion with the RAD team about that. If it is filed, it will be one for Fulton Houses and the other will be for Elliott Chelsea. This is not one thing. These are two separate developments. Do we all understand that? Two separate developments. I'm glad everyone's heard that. I have your attention. So it is not a done deal. 3, another thing. You're asking the meanwhile plan. It was 25 million. No one's ever quite explained what happened when the 25 million runs out. Now, Clinton Housing Development Corporation has been called out this evening. Are you going to ask somebody else, another company, to do the repairs? I don't think that's what you're going to do. So, NYCHA needs to be held accountable for the repairs. You want to get things done? Start working to fund Section 9. Now I know you're going to tell me you can't do it. Fairclough Amendment, we are below those limits. It can be done. Everyone has chosen not to do it. We are in opposition to this letter. Have NYCHA do its job.
Salinas there you are. Thank you.
Salinas Miranda, Elliott Houses. I don't understand why the insistence related pay for our repairs when NYCHA already admitted that they have funds to upgrade our apartments. As Jeffrey Lanfranco said, if NYCHA can do repairs, what's the point of all this? NYCHA can afford many things, like making excessive payments to vendors and pay the next 10 years of our interim repairs. We also have funds from our infill land at the Elliott Chelsea campus, and there's a lot more sources that can cover our FEC expenses, including our own rent payments, and why it's important to fill up the empty apartments. But we do know what the point of all this is. Everyone knows, but very few have admitted. It's a land grab, and the only ones that are being serviced and catered to is Related Company. They are not pleased with the Hudson Yard and the other incumbent and high luxury buildings they have. They want it all, and they will not rest until they have a complete takeover of Chelsea. The hidden treasure that Chelsea once was has slowly been disappearing. The very thing that attracted people to this neighborhood is the very thing that private developers come and exploit. We have so much open space on our campus and an abundance of trees. It's enchanting, it's breathtaking, the lungs of Chelsea. Please do not let them take away our serene and tranquil environment. It's 20 years of construction. I'm 49 years old and could die before this ever gets completed. I don't want to die seeing my neighborhood in ruins, breathing in toxins, exposed to constant noise and obstruction. What laws protect NYCHA residents? According to HUD codes and regulations, we do not qualify for demolition. We will soon find out if we truly do live in a democracy. Please stop indulging the rich. We need your help. Push related away. We already know that NYCHA can afford repairs. We must hold them accountable and have them meet up to their expectations of care. By the way, city officials have been misinforming our neighbors. They are saying 40% of tenants participated in the survey. The protesters are outside agitators and that it's a done deal. Thank you.
Next, Alexa, and then Marnie.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I've been living in Chelsea for 55 years in NYCHA, and I don't want Rat Pat, Preservation Trust, Section 8, or anything else. I don't want them. I always held Section 9 responsible, NYCHA for us. We have had repairs before. We had new refrigerators, new stoves, new floors, new bathrooms. The government has the money. And I don't understand how the rich people are attacking the low income people to make themselves richer. This is not fair for anyone in this city. I have paid my taxes and everybody else has paid their taxes and their dues. Please, please keep all private developers away from NYCHA. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, Jackie, do you want, Marnie, are you on this or are you on something else? That's what I thought. Okay, Jackie, why don't you come up then? Because you're with the same topic, right? Okay.
These developments still belong to NYCHA. NYCHA has obligation to continue to provide safe and habitable homes for us. Related is not part of our management. They haven't even submitted an application for demolition. So, and NYCHA has to submit 2 different applications. Thank God we found about that. For each campus. There's no reason why they should be responsible for our repairs until HUD approves the application. The fact that NYCHA themselves told CB4 that they have the money to do the repairs for the next decades makes it clear that NYCHA can't afford to fix our development. There's no reason to demolish our homes. NYCHA just needs to make the repairs. And at this testimony of these people here on the screen, it just goes to show that NYCHA is not the only ones going through stuff. So anyway, thank you. And let's keep public housing public.
Marnie, Amy, and Angela, I believe you're all speaking on the same thing. So I'll let you come up. Yeah, it's great.
My name is Marnie Halassa, and I've been a figure skating coach at Chelsea Piers for nearly 30 years. Along with my colleagues, we have created what we believe is the first figure skating union for the first union for figure skating coaches, really, we think in the nation. We've been acting like a union like since 2011, and we had in the past more of a harmonious relationship with our management. But last year, the doors were really, slammed shut in our faces. We were not able to give any input. So we decided to make it a little bit more official. And last fall, over 70% of the coaches signed on to be recognized, but we're being ignored by Chelsea Piers. And even more so, the New York Times recently wrote an article suggesting retaliation is going on at Chelsea Piers, and both myself and Angela Chang, we were terminated for union activity. And I have an article that I'm going to hand out to everybody. And also we have the support of Brad Hoylman. He wrote a letter for us. And other elected officials were talking to them and they seem very interested. And really, we want what all workers have. We want input in our working conditions. We want a livable wage. We want safety. And most importantly, we want to be able to meet at the bargaining table as equals. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Chang. I grew up as a competitive figure skater, and I am now a resident of Chelsea. I've been here for over 10 years, and I've been working at Chelsea Piers for 23 years. And there's this banner that's on the West Side Highway. Maybe everyone's seen it, right above Chelsea Piers, that says live, work, play. And that's how I feel like I live my life. And sorry, I'm getting nervous. We started this because we love what we do, and we as workers always came to our workplace and asked for transparency and like for them to communicate with us. And because they haven't been listening, that's why we formed this union. So I can't talk. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah. I know it's my name's Amy Engler, and I have worked at Chelsea Piers for almost 29 years since they opened up as a figure skating coach. And I'm really, really sorry for what's happened to my colleagues who were terminated about 6 weeks ago, and who continue to work there. It's kind of strange, teaching their private clients, but are not allowed to do any of the classes or the camp coming up, and don't really know what their fate will be at the end of the summer when we renew our contracts to teach our, oh, sorry, thank you. I don't know how to do this. Yeah, so they're facing an uncertain future, and I'm really sorry that that has to happen, because we were just doing what we're allowed to under federal law, which is organizing as a coworker group and asking for communication with our management. They didn't take it very well that we were asking for things to be clarified and for safety conditions to be addressed with us, and to talk about the contracts that we sign. We have very reasonable requests, and we envision a future where we will be respected and we will be able to sit down with them at the bargaining table and talk about the issues that will improve our business. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have. Some people signed up. It says general concerns, but non-speaking. So if that's a mistake and there are Henry Lee or wanted to speak, no? Okay, because it was two. I think, yeah, I think that closes the public session. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you again to everyone who came. And for those who were interested in signing up, just again to reiterate, or in speaking rather, you are invited to sign up. You can actually sign up now on our website for the next month's meeting. And we ask that you, if you come in person and like to sign up, that you do that by 6:45. We will move on to our agenda. You all have a copy. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you, Joe. Second, Jeffrey. Thank you. Thank you to Katie Stokes and Alice Wang for the minutes. Can we get a motion to adopt the minutes? Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Great. Next up, we'll hear from our elected officials. I want to remind everyone that we've again asked, sorry? Oh, on the minutes? Oh, can all in favor on the minutes? Sorry, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Any opposed? Great, any present not eligible? No. Great, thank you. Sorry about that. We're going to hear from our elected officials. Again, we're asking everyone to keep it to 2 minutes, and we'll be happy to receive any materials you may have that you care to share with the board. With that, we'll go, I believe we have Gail Brewer. Oh, sorry. Great. Dana, we're going to bring you over.
I'm over.
Great. Your 2 minutes starts now. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Dana Schmerzler from State. It's been a very busy month as a legislative session ends either tomorrow or Friday. We'll see the Senate is trying to pass many bills before the session ends. Just a few highlights of Senator Krueger's bills that have passed. Two related to climate change. So the first is the Climate Change Superfund Act, which is the first in the nation legislation that will use the polluters pay model to collect $75 billion over 25 years for climate change adaptation from the parties most responsible for causing the climate crisis, which is the oil, gas, and coal companies. The Senators' Trees Act also passed both the Senate and Assembly, and we are really hoping that it will be signed into law by the governor this year because it passed last year. She did veto it because she had some suggestions, which we did include in the bill this year. This law would help to ensure that New York State government procurement does not drive tropical deforestation. The Senate also passed a comprehensive lithium-ion battery package, which aims at enhancing safety standards for lithium-ion batteries. This initiative is a proactive response to recent tragedies and severe property damage that have been caused by faulty batteries and improper usage. In relation to that, the Senate also passed Senator Krueger's bill, which requires that mopeds be registered as well as licensed, which we have been pushing for the past 2 years. And the Senator also passed a bill to update the definition of aggravated harassment in the second degree to include contacts via text, private message, direct message, email, or other electronic communication. The Senator also did come out with a very detailed statement today on the governor's decision to delay the implementation of congestion pricing and believes that it is a staggering error that will create a financial crisis for the MTA board. We also have two events. The first is a virtual roundtable series for older adults on the New York State Master Plan on Aging, which will begin June 18th. And we will also have a virtual town hall on the new good cause eviction law. Anyone that's market rate, we do encourage to attend this town hall because this may apply to you. And this is on Thursday, June 20th from 6:30 to 8 p.m.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for joining us. We're going to move on to representing the Manhattan Borough President's Office, Yiyi Wang.
Hi, everyone, and welcome the new board members. Sorry, I was on vacation last month, so I didn't know that people are on this month. But welcome. I have a few announcements today. First of all, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that the Red Guidelines Board will be holding the meeting in Manhattan on the Upper West Side on June 11th at the New York Society for Ethical Culture. For too long, the RGB left Manhattan out in their citywide meeting schedule. The borough president, along with council member Keith Powers, wrote to the RGB to advocate that the borough that has among the highest number of rent-stabilized homes should have a meeting in Manhattan. Again, that's New York Society for Ethical Culture, located at 2 West 64th Street at 5 p.m. Please visit the RGB website to pre-register to speak if you will be providing testimony. As you know, our office has been working hard to address the need for public bathrooms in our borough and the city. We are very happy to announce movement on that front. Yesterday, the borough president, alongside Mayor Adams, DOT Commissioner Rodriguez, and the Parks Commissioner Donahue, announced that nearly 100 new and refurbished restrooms will be coming online in the next few years, 28 of which will be in Manhattan. Additionally, just today, the city launched a Google Maps layer showing all public bathrooms across the 5 boroughs. We encourage you to visit our social media to view the map and for more details. 2 weeks ago, the MPPO published an op-ed with Council Member De La Rosa about creating a residential parking permit program in New York City. This is not a new idea. as the borough president carried a residential parking permit bill in his time in the council, but it's a renewed push for us in the office and the one that we are very excited about. The borough president has heard from constituents, affinity groups, and community boards about the potential benefits of a parking permit program, particularly for folks who are concerned about cars being dumped outside of the congestion pricing zone.
Yiyi, that's 2 minutes. We thank you.
Oh, okay.
Great. Thank you very much. We are going to move on. I believe we have Griffin from, sorry. Oh, excuse me, Eric Straza from the DA's office. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Go ahead, Eric.
Great. Thank you so much. Just a few updates I wanted to put on the group's radar. I know that the state budget has been discussed in the past, but wanted to highlight that we had a partial passage of the Hate Crimes Modernization Act. I know that it's something I've spoken about before. Ultimately, we got 23 additional offenses included in the new budget. And these are offenses that have a broad spectrum in their range, but we do have a press release that we put out where you can look at all of them. Just some quick highlights. We have gang assault, sexual abuse, and falsely reporting an incident as a few of the charges that are now included. We also, for the third consecutive summer, will be holding a gun violence prevention funding opportunity for community-based organizations, specifically for those that are focused on youth gun violence prevention. We'll be providing up to $20,000 for community-based organizations to pay New Yorkers stipends to participate in meaningful programming or enhance and beautify public spaces that are known areas for gun violence. The last thing I wanted to mention is I'd love for everyone to go to our website and check out some of the recent sentencing announcements and indictments that we recently put out, specifically relating to cases in the Midtown and CB4 area. One of them that comes to mind was a recent indictment of a man for an unprovoked stabbing at the Port Authority bus terminal. I'm sure many of you have heard of that case. And that this individual was charged with attempted murder in the second degree, assault in the second degree, among other charges that you can find on our website. I think that's all. Happy to take any questions, but I'll hand it back to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Eric. We're now going to turn. We're lucky to be joined by our state senator, Brad Hoylman Siegel. The senator missed our update that we're asking everyone to limit their remarks to 2 minutes. So we're thrilled you're here, but we will ask you to keep it brief.
I love that caveat. Thank you, though, but I appreciate it. Good to see everyone. Congratulations to the new members. I'm a former community board chair myself, so I understand the importance of this body. And speaking of which, I passed a bill. Well, I hope to pass a bill in the next 48 hours that would lower the in-person quorum requirement for community boards, so you can operate virtually as well as have members in your physical space to 25%. I know that's been shared with the community board. I don't know if we're going to get it through the assembly, but it's a good place to start because we have seen participation increase, of course, through virtual meetings. Secondly, I wanted to talk about the helipad that is at 30th Street. Assemblymember Simone and I are following the guidelines that Community Board 4 proposed on the development of Pier 76. But in conjunction with that, we are finally going to move the helipad out of the Hudson River Park onto a floating barge, as was dictated by a law that we passed in 2013, but a law that never set a date when that had to happen. So not only are we setting the date, but we're also requiring a task force to be comprised of Community Board 4 members, as well as other representatives to ensure that the helipad is in fact moved. Third, I'm passing a bill this week around social media hatred called the Stop Hiding Hate Act, which will require social media companies to report to the Attorney General on the steps and the incidents of hatred on their platforms. And then finally, today was a very disappointing day in Albany when the governor announced that congestion pricing will be put on hold indefinitely. We have a lot of questions here in the legislature. I've supported congestion pricing for over a decade, including voting for it once before. But top of mind is, how are we going to replenish the $15 billion that's going to be lost through this pause of congestion pricing. Is the pause temporary? Is it permanent? And I might add that we've already spent $500 to $600 million developing the congestion pricing infrastructure, which many of you, see on a daily basis. I mean, clean air, safer streets, ending gridlock, acting on climate. There's so many good reasons for congestion pricing, as we all know. It's extremely disappointing to have heard the governor's announcement. I hope we can move her to revisit the issue and ensure future generations of New Yorkers have this incredibly forward-thinking program in our city. Thank you very much.
Senator. Thank you. We appreciate you respecting our time limit today and all of your work.
Thank you.
We are
time limit
move...
is most important. Thanks so much.
We are going to move on. We're joined by a representative from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's office. Griffin, I think we have you.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Great. So this has been a busy week for the Assembly member in the state legislature. It's her last week of session, and so she's working hard to pass her priority legislation. So I just wanted to point your attention to two bills that were just passed. A2885, the Assembly member is proud to have passed her legislation to require places of public assembly to keep EpiPens on hand and to have a staff member or volunteer trained on their use. This legislation was a collaborative effort between the Assembly member and a high school student whose brother has a life-threatening food allergy, and which ensure that large venues with a capacity of 1,000 people or more are prepared to act if a person suffers an allergic reaction. An estimated 15 million people in the U.S. suffer from food allergies, and almost 30,000 emergency room visits a year are due to allergic reactions. Because a person can experience a reaction for the first time when they're out in public, it's important that epinephrine is available to reverse anaphylaxis. The legislation is modeled after laws requiring the presence of AEDs and will soon be headed to the governor's desk for final approval. The second bill is A38. The Assembly member sponsored this bill that passed the Assembly unanimously yesterday to require insurance companies to cover scalp cooling devices for patients receiving chemotherapy treatment for cancer. Hair loss is often one of the most devastating and difficult side effects of chemotherapy, and scalp cooling devices are FDA-approved systems that minimize hair loss during chemo, and studies have found that they can help to preserve over half of a person's hair loss. Scalp cooling devices are already covered by Medicare and Medicaid, so this bill would provide the same coverage to patients with private insurance. The devices can cost thousands if you pay out of pocket. If signed into law, this would be a historic first, with New York being the first state to require insurance coverages of these devices. And on the community side, earlier in May, we held our biannual West Side Shred Day event. And despite rainy weather, over 550 residents came out to one of the largest Shred Day events the Assembly member has held. We were happy to see so many members of the community turn out, and we will host another one in the fall, which we will announce through our email list. Thank you for our time.
Thank you. Thank you for those updates. We're going to move on to Congressman Dan Goldman's Representative Tevin Williams.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
We hear you, Tevin. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Tevin Williams, Director of Community and External Affairs for Congressman Goldman. Just very quickly, Madam Chair, I'll give you two quick updates. On the district front, as many of you know, and remember the tragedy that happened to Michelle Go, Congressman Goldman has picked up this bill and introduced it during Mental Health Awareness Month last month with Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, Congressman Tony Carderas, and Congressman Gus Bilirakis. This bill is going to increase the federal Medicaid eligible inpatient psychiatric beds for individuals who are seeking treatment for both mental health and substance use disorders. Many of you know we see so many unhoused, mentally unwell people on the streets, and this bill will help this at the federal level. And then just secondly, on the district front, or on the DC front, I'm sorry, the congressman introduced a bill that will provide more resources for childcare for small businesses. The Child Care Small Business Insight and Improvement Bill would designate a point person USSBA, Small Business Administration, whose focus is supporting for-profit child care providers, and then also require USSBA to conduct a study on the needs and challenges for for-profit child care providers and giving that information to the SBA. That's all on my end. Happy to take any questions, but thank you so much for all the work y'all do.
Terrific, Tevin. Thank you so much. We'll now move to to Curtis Young, who represents the Public Advocate's Office.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis Young from the Community Affairs Unit in the Office of the Public Advocate. First of all, happy Pride to everyone, as well as happy Caribbean Heritage Month. I'm in Brooklyn now, celebrating a Caribbean American event at the beautiful Prospect Park. So as you may know, the Public Advocate delivered his annual State of the People address last month. It was an opportunity for the Public Advocate to share his vision for the city, and it also incorporated the work being done by advocates from working closely with our office in infrastructure, housing, education, and so many more. We're very excited to also include their vision for the city in our annual State of the People's address. As you all know, have heard many times tonight, the budget is ongoing. We are tracking and following the work being done by council and the negotiation budget team to get our budget passed sooner than later, hopefully. Additionally, we are celebrating Pride. We have tons of Pride opportunities to connect and collaborate with our office. We're marching this weekend in Brooklyn Pride, as well as the Bronx celebration and Manhattan. If you're interested in joining our contingent and walking and celebrating Pride with us, you can follow us on our social media and sign up. Additionally, as with all months, you can call in to Ask the Advocate, a monthly series on News 12, Brooklyn and the Bronx. I think that's all for today. Happy Pride. Happy early Father's Day, everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you, Curtis. Enjoy out there. We'll turn it over to Robin Forrest, representing the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs.
Hi, thank you. I will keep it brief. First of all, welcome to the new members. If you've not served before, it's a wonderful experience. Second, I was going to talk about the You're in Luck program, which is the new public restroom program, but Yiyi really spoke about it. Just to summarize, there are going to be 46 new restrooms and 36 refurbished. And the city will be releasing Google Maps that will layer over the nearest public restrooms to wherever you are. We are excited about this, and it is, while not as many restrooms as the city can use, it's definitely a step in the right direction. Another thing I wanted to mention to you is that the mayor, along with Speaker Adams, announced some changes and increases in the allocation for youth. There had been a $32 million fund from the federal government as part of the federal stimulus during COVID, and that amount of money has been replaced. It will include the provision of computer science education, civics, and restorative justice program. We are also happy to report that there has been a funding restoration to expand Summer Rising, a very, very important program for students, and that'll be $20 million. So we're very happy that increased revenue and fiscal management has allowed those programs to continue and expand. The other thing I wanted to mention is that there's a new initiative this summer. I don't know if you've heard about it, that the mayor and the police commissioner announced about a summer enforcement strategy to help remove illegal motorized scooters and mopeds from our streets and sidewalks. The warmer weather usually sees an uptick in crime anyway, and a lot of crime is committed by people on the scooters and bikes. It's a more recent phenomenon. Vehicles have to be registered, and if vehicles are not registered, then they are subject to removal. So I think that's it. If any questions, happy to take them. If not, I'll see you next month.
Terrific. Thank you. Sorry, there is a question from the audience. Christine, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Robin. Could you let us know what is the reaction of Mayor Adams to the governor's announcement on the congestion pricing?
I have not heard a comment from him yet. but I'm sure by tomorrow I will have one and I can circle back with Jesse.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you to all those who joined us representing the elected officials. And thank you again for respecting our 2-minute policy so we can get out of here and get to our business before we have to leave. With that, I'm going to turn it to our district manager.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jesse Bodine, District Manager of Community Board 4. Very quickly, just for the June and July committee schedule, June's Transportation Planning Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30, not its normal time, on the third Wednesday of the month, which is June 19th, which is a holiday. July's full board meeting will be held, as it always is, on the fourth Wednesday, which is July 24th, at the High Line at West 14th Street. We've been doing that for the last, I think, 3 years at this point. And then July's Housing, Health, and Human Services Committee is currently rescheduled to be on Wednesday, July 3rd, due to the July 4th holiday. That is tentatively the schedule for that. I understand that that might be some issues, and we might work on that. All other committees for the month of June are meeting at their regular and scheduled dates and times. That's it. What? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, you have to. Why don't you do it, Dolores?
We rehearsed this, Jane.
I know.
I missed the cue. We didn't have a letter today from the Cannabis Task Force. We just wanted to mention that Cannabis NYC will be at the Cannabis Task Force meeting this month, which is on the 20th. Reason why I wanted to make sure this was mentioned is over the last several months, we've had very, very robust debate about the letters coming out of that task force, which really just shows that there are different schools of thoughts. But as there's a lot of movement happening in cannabis, particularly in the last month or so with enforcement, we think it's real important for you all to know. If you are interested, please join our meeting on the 20th. Or tune in online for the recording. Thank you.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Dolores.
See, we did rehearse this.
Yeah. I flubbed the line. All right, thank you.
Thank you both. I do want to, as we move to my update, which will be brief this evening, I do want to remind everyone that there are, whether it's cannabis or Clinton Hell's Kitchen, land use, really all of our committees are dealing with really robust issues, all of the, particularly for our new members, but for the public as well. You should be looking at our agendas, previewing those topics, and being sure to show up for those discussions. It really is at committee where the work is done, where these discussions and hearing from the community is so important. So with all of these big issues that we are facing, want to encourage everyone to participate at committee meetings. The few brief updates that I have this evening. One is regarding, we will be scheduling a public hearing for the letter, which we are voting on tonight, which is the demolition for special permit for 343 West 47th Street. We would have normally held a hearing in advance of the letter coming tonight. That was due to an oversight. It did not happen. However, we will vote on it tonight, and we will still hold a hearing. So you all should stay tuned for that. The Port Authority Bus Terminal Working Group continues to meet with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in preparation for their presentation to both Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use and to Transportation Committees this month. As you all probably have seen in the news, this is a massive, and heard us say, this is a massive investment, both financially and just, you know, pure logistics and construction that's coming to our neighborhood. And so better understanding the proposal that's being brought before us will be beneficial for everyone because we will all be impacted by it. So we encourage you to attend those meetings. MCB4 members, along with elected representatives, continue to meet with the Chelsea NYCHA development team to obtain requested information about the new proposal. And we look forward to having NYCHA and the development team back to present at our relevant communities in the fall and winter. And lastly, the initial construction has begun on the MTA site at 806 9th Avenue for permanent, affordable, and supportive housing. And we wanted you all to be aware of the progress that is being made there. With that, we're going to turn to our agenda this evening, to the business portion of our agenda. We'll start with Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use on their letter to DCP regarding the demolition and special permit. I invite JD to come up and I think it would be nice. It's a big letter.
I co-chair. Save me. Thank you, Madam Chair. The letter is before you. I want to thank Matthew Sullivan, CHDC, and Joe for working on this letter. Chris LeBron, who worked with the neighbors of this building that's going to be demolished to solve everything, and Paul and the committee for working through this letter. Rachel, I know you had some suggestions, some edits. I just got them to, we'll work on that. Thank you, Rachel. This is about a building that was illegally starting to be demolished. And then they went bankrupt for 2 years, I think, and then they resurfaced. There was some damage to Ramona Ponte Park next door and to the building next door. So they finally came to us once again to get a permit to demolish what they started and put up a 6-story building, keeping with the special district. That's what the letter is about. There's a lot of history in the letter about the Clinton Special District, which is good reading for new members to give you an idea of what you're in for.
Thank you. Thank you, JD. Are there any questions on this letter? Yeah, we'll do a mic. We'll start over here and then we'll come back.
First of all, I want to say I appreciate as a new board member the welcome that people gave, but I want to also say I thank the existing board members because having gone to some of the committee meetings and watching this one, the amount of time you put into it and the patience that you show is to be commended. So thank you, the existing
Did you repeat
folks.
that? Yeah.
It's on YouTube. So, but at the meeting, well, in the letter, have they agreed to the stuff that was the conditions and did they sign?
Thank you. That's a good point to bring up. Jesse has reminded me that we just got the letter where they did agree to everything.
They
So
signed,
that would
okay.
be put in the letter.
Great. And then the second thing is, as you know, there were a number of people from different tenant associations that spoke and said they don't trust because of all the history. And then he was going to walk through, meet some members of the committee and the tenant association and walk through the area.
Yes.
Has he lived up to that?
Yes, he has. And Chris LeBron, thank you for arranging that. Chris is a member of the committee and this board, and he did work with the neighbors. I don't know if Chris is here.
No, just a comment that, yes, we got the draft letter from the attorney, and we're working on the final version of it. And everything we asked for is in it. Just got to get the wording right.
Are there any other questions on this side? Okay, I think Marty had a question. Well, no, Marty does not have a question. Okay, great. Thank you, JD.
You're welcome.
You can pass the mic. I don't know if Josephine or Matt. Thank you. We're gonna go to ACES.
Hello, very simple, straightforward letter. We are asking the mayor to reverse budget cuts to the New York Public Library. Our district is currently down 1 library, and so we have Columbus Branch, and we're trying to save all of our hours, staff, programming, et cetera. Are there any questions? Thank you.
One here.
Sorry.
Bert.
Yes.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. The budget cuts for the library, New York Public Library,
Yes.
also apply to the Brooklyn system and the Queens system.
I
So
understand.
I think we should mention in the letter. It just sounds like we're only concerned with the New York Public Library system.
I mean,
We
I
are
was
concerned about us because the letter does end up with Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen, but we start off with talk about the budget cuts to the library system, and we have 3 library systems, not 1.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think we might be able to work that in as a friendly.
I mean, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's fine. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Thank you, Josephine. And thank you, ACES. We'll leave the mic back on this side. Sorry?
I accept the amendment. Yes, I will put a line in. Who's next?
Thank you. You can just place the mic down. We're gonna turn it to, Bert is gonna do the BLP update.
Hi. Unless there are any questions, we think that, as we would say, they all should be put together and voted on as one, but we don't vote. We have the the paper. But any questions?
Yes, I did speak to Frank last month, about this address, and I decided not to bring it up, but I thought I'd bring it up tonight. This is one of our demolition buildings, this location, 317, 319 West 35th. And I think we need to note that there was illegal demolition at this location, and there seems to be there has been an effort to get around the illegal demolition. So I think we can pull somewhere from some of our letters, something about that would be helpful.
Sorry, Joe, can you just repeat which letter that is?
319 West 35th Street rooftop, item 3.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Kevin next to you has a question.
Same questions before. In reading the letters, there's all these preconditions. Have they been agreed to, or it's a work in progress, or they've been agreed to? Okay, gotcha.
The committee voted all.
Right, good. And that, no, I mean, the conditions listed, delineated in the letters, the applicants have all signed off on them. Good. And then just as a minute point, someone could take a look at it. On letter number 7 on the application, the person didn't answer the question, is a 200-foot rule triggered or not? It was left blank, so it's blank on the application.
Okay, we have an eagle eye. Thank you. Okay, I think we're good on BLP. Were there any questions on this side? Sorry.
I'm not totally clear about the problem between the demolition and the liquor license.
Joe, can I just make the suggestion that we have plenty of letters on this and we can just include the letters? We have the board has written previous letters on this specific set of buildings about the illegal demo. I think we just include those letters in the package that we send to SLA.
But are we suggesting that they shouldn't get the license because there was a demolition, or because if they are including a legal license, they are not going to demolish, right? Or am I missing the point? Oh, they already have demolished.
They've already demolished what we wanted them to.
No. Okay.
This is letters 9 and 10. I think they're straightforward. If they aren't, let me know. That was easy. Thank you.
Hi, Marty. Thanks. Just on the
Not that easy, huh?
I know, sorry. Number 9, Con Ed letter. You know, I'm glad they came to present. They were seemingly transparent. They're a utility company and what they do is pretty dirty. And I'd like to see a little bit more frustration around the fact that there was an oil leak and it wasn't made public for quite some time. So if we can just maybe add a sentence of, at the end of the day, significant wrong was still done here and we appreciate what's being done afterwards. But I guess I'd like to show greater annoyance.
How about if we add to the letter, I just asked Jesse, they promised to come back to us with information that we asked about all these things, and they have not yet. How about if we add to the letter that as of this date, we have not heard back?
That's fine. I guess publicly, I think it's useful to say that we are angry that there was an oil spill in the estuary right off our shores. And it's that something we can just sort of have as a statement in there.
I'm angry.
Okay.
I don't like oil spills.
I hope this is taken as friendly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. We can work on some language. Thank you, Jeffrey.
We're angry that you spilled. We're angry that you didn't come back to us.
Thank you. Was there another comment? Did I see over here? No. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. We will now go to transportation and you're welcome to come up or we can bring the mic to you. Great.
Yes, so we have 4 letters. I presume you all have read them. And I have one recommendation. Who did that? Oh, Paul. Paul said, Paul, you had a suggestion that we were ready to agree. Can you articulate that? Because I don't remember.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I had sent a suggestion that typically at MTA bus stops, we don't allow buses to use that space. And on the big bus, it's a quick drop-off pickup. So I just wanted to clarify that we were okay breaking our precedent, but that we declared in the letter that this wasn't a pattern to be held by other buses.
I think it's perfectly fine. Okay,
mean,
there was
I think-
also a question of whether the newsstand was in our district or in CB7. So we are under the impression that it is in our district. Oh, the man says yes. Okay, exactly.
Great. And I know we received some edits also from Rachel, which she sent just before the meeting, which should all be
What is
reasonable.
it? Oh, it's wording?
The letters with my comments and attachments, they were friendly, hopefully, drafting suggestions, but I did have two questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for letter 13, this is the one in support of the bus stop for this applicant named Hampton Luxury Liner, formerly known
Yes.
as Hampton Jitneys. So we noted that we had supported this under previous operation.
Yes.
Could we reference any past letter that,
We could,
is related to that?
we'll reference the letter, fine.
Or share some background about this operation, because
No,
it
no,
kind of was.
fine.
Yeah.
We have approved it. They have been
Okay.
operating for 4 years. So, it's like, and they don't have a lot of departure and arrival. So it's really very low key. And what this is pretty much a change of ownership. It's not ownership even. They are changing the name, and therefore per DOT, they have to reapply for the same thing.
Okay, just thought it'd be helpful to shed some light into the committee's reasoning.
Right.
Okay, thank you. And then for letter 14 on the unused newsstand, was this in response to some community complaint? Like, has the newsstand?
Absolutely. Tina and Nelson right there complain for months about it.
Thank you. Very helpful context. Thank you.
And this is why.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Good thing we don't have an HR department
Joe?
around here.
Yes, on item number 11. Christine, one question. I thought the construction was 2026, not 27?
The construction of
For the
what?
number 11, the parapet wall.
No, 27.
27, okay.
Yeah.
And then in lines 15 to 17, can we detail what the normal construction hours are? The normal 7 to 4? So it's
yes,
so it's
yes,
very
yes.
clear. So because Clinton Housing has 95 apartments on that block.
Yes.
It's gonna try, if it's overnight.
Yeah,
people are
everybody
creeping.
was really
Right.
tense about it.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. We're going to turn it over to Jeffrey for the clue.
Thank you, Jessica. Presenting for Chelsea Land Use Committee this evening, 2 items, both to LPC with thanks to Committee Member David Haloka for drafting these. We heard from a number of members of the public for item 15. We're recommending a denial of this application and asking for a new proposal to be brought back to us to consider. We hope LPC heeds that call, and we've certainly recommended members of the public attend that hearing on June 18th. And then item 16, also a denial of an application for a gate, fairly straightforward. There were some friendly suggestions on some language tweaks to the 415 to item 15. And I would note also just that a couple of the things in the letter on item 15 are very much out of scope for LPC, but from both a sort of positioning and principled standpoint, we thought it useful to include some references to things that are, though not in the jurisdiction of the agency, relevant to the board's interest as it relates to housing, both units of housing and preservation generally.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Any, Paul?
Hi, everybody. I want to speak on letter 16. There were a bunch of us at Chelsea Land Use who voted to oppose this position. In the past, 2 years ago, there was a building across the street at the seminary that applied for similar gates that were architecturally in context. This board took a position against those gates. LPC then approved it. If you go down that block now, you could not tell that they're new gates. They look just like they were built in the 1800s. The argument presented by those people across the street was everybody else on the other side of the street, the south side of the street, has fences and gates that run along the property lines. So I think that our position in this letter is sort of inconsistent, it's illogical, and it's ineffective. And I think that we should take and approve with conditions. This position is inconsistent because everything else along that block has fences and gates. And I think it's illogical because in this letter, we point out that these gates are there for safety. Safety is not necessary on that block any longer because of gentrification of the neighborhood. But in letter 15, we're opposed to gentrification of buildings. So we're presenting an inconsistent an illogical pattern in our vote on this letter. I also see this as ineffective because neighbors that have fences like this is an pre-existing non-conforming gate that was put in the 1980s. It can't come down. What they are proposing is to replace it with something that's architecturally and aesthetically more in line with the historic context of the neighborhood. Any other new neighbors coming along will say, why would I improve my property if the community board is going to oppose it? They're going to leave the decrepit 1980s bad fences up instead of coming to us to look for this. It's also ineffective because LPC voted to approve the gates across the street. So they're going to approve these gates as well. So we're not fostering a good relationship with LPC by taking this position. I would much rather see this board take an approve with conditions, which is language LPC is familiar with. And it also allows for us to work to preserve and protect the historic characteristics of the neighborhood.
Thanks,
So
Paul.
I would say I'm voting against this and would like to see this rejected and instead take a position of approve with conditions. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. A couple of comments there. I should have acknowledged that it was a split vote on the committee, so I apologize for that and thank you. Separately, just for some of the new folks in the room, our positions are always advisory to the agency. And so that is what this is doing. The thrust of our conversation was around the original design of the building, which is very much in keeping with item 15 also, as it relates to the preservation. While that, just to sort of pull the parallels there that Paul pointed to, because I actually do see the letters as consistent, keeping with the idea of preservation. Just because the block had already sort of fallen to the whims of the agency in the past, I don't think that means we should just go along with how they've suddenly approved a bunch of gates, and so now this house wants one too. Let's do it. I would also note that it's not a house; it's an apartment building, which is distinct from the rest of the block. It's not a row house or a townhouse. It's an apartment building, and it historically did not have a gate prior to that sort of slapdash installation in the early 80s based on historical photos. So on a process standpoint, I don't take your amendment as friendly. So obviously, if there's a change, we'd have to vote on it. But that was sort of just in response to where the majority was coming from on the committee for folks to understand a bit there.
If I can just comment quickly, yeah, that wasn't a friendly amendment at all.
I didn't, again, I know that it wasn't, Paul. I'm
And
trying to, there's some
folks on the
process for
board,
everybody here.
We acknowledge that people should feel comfortable to speak out on the letter, say that they don't approve and make their piece heard, and then everyone will take their vote at the right time, unless there is.
So I would just recommend rather than wait to the final end of this and we all vote and it's very difficult to declutter this, if you're making a motion, is someone seconding that emotion and then we take a vote on that? Okay, that's second. So now we're going to take a vote on what
Just
Paul was.
Point of order. Sorry, there were other hands in the room, and I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jessica, is that okay?
Well,
If we
I
go to
just
some
want to
hands
first
before there's a
clarify,
motion made.
but Paul knows how to make a motion and didn't, and I want to make sure that that was your intent.
I will make a motion to change this
but we're
letter
gonna
to
ask you to
approve with
hold.
conditions,
Okay,
and then we can have discussion on the motion. And I think JT seconded.
okay, we're gonna get other hands. Go ahead.
Thanks. Paul, there are some discrepancies that I find with your facts. One is that the existing gate is being taken down at the discretion of the current owner. It's in fact in a long-term violation. It was installed without the approval of the Landmarks Commission that was required. They're not doing us any favor by taking it down. They're required to by law since the building recently changed hands. It looks like, oh yeah, this is a big improvement because it's going to be a much less substantial gate, but gates aren't, it's not part of the really notable original architect's original plan, which is part of the reason the building is landmarked. The applicant misstated that every other building on the block has a gate, which is completely untrue. The buildings on the block that have gates are, for the most part, Greek Revival row houses from the early 19th century, which typically had gates that read as continuous with their front fences. They're not apartment buildings. Apartment buildings in New York don't typically have gates. We made the argument with the Landmarks Commission 2 years ago regarding the gates that were added to the theological seminary row houses, that they were from a different era. This whole idea that you have to match a precedent, whether that precedent is actually similar to the kind of building you're talking about, doesn't make sense. Eventually, every building in New York would have a gate in front of it. This block is the centerpiece of the Chelsea Historic District. Clement Clark Moore, Chelsea's founder, donated the grounds that the seminary is on to create a kind of village green for Chelsea, for the community he was planning. I really hate to see it turned into something that's fortress-like. Again, those row houses and this apartment building are not vernacular architecture like the Greek Revival row houses. They're by prominent architects who designed them very deliberately without fences. This is an apartment building. All it needs is an intercom system with a buzzer. So that's what I have to say.
I think there were, thank you, David. There were, I think, Jesse, did you have your hand up?
Sorry, Paul, I just didn't, can you just explain what conditions you were referencing, or?
So typically, LPC uses language approve with conditions, and what that would mean is we would approve this gate, but make sure that they instituted the architectural and aesthetic designs that they had presented that were in line with the rest of the fencing around the property. And that would replace this ugly 1980s gate with something that was a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to align with the neighborhood.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'm going to turn it to you, Jesse. I don't know what do I.
So
you're not.
So there was a motion and then there was a second. So we're voting on this. Be clear, we're voting on a approve with conditions. If you're voting yes, you're voting yes for approve with conditions rather than the stated letter, which is a denial. So that's clear.
Good.
So
Just a point on that.
Sure.
Question on the motion. This would upend, in effect, the letter, and we'd have to establish what, in fact, conditions we are approving as it relates to whatever proposed contextual architectural style that is seemingly coming out of something that never had a gate or a fence in the first place. So I just think it's a risky gambit to do this at a full board meeting. It is not inconsistent with our past positions to reject a gate, not just on this block, but on an apartment house in particular. And while I totally respect the motion and we should vote on it, I would caution my colleagues of we really would have to actually figure out what the recommendation would be and the condition for the agency to consider based on the architectural style of a building that never had a gate in the first place.
Sorry, we need folks online to mute. We're getting some feedback, and if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand. Thank you. I think we're still back to you, Jesse.
okay. Point taken. Everybody that is in favor of the motion that Paul made and that was seconded by JD, and you're raising your hand if you're in favor of this motion. Mike Noble has to mute. Okay, hands raised, please. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Online.
Mike raised his hand.
That's it. Okay. It's 14. Thank you, Mike. You can put your hands down. And anybody voting now, you're opposing this this motion. You're raising your hands if you're opposing this motion. Keep your hands up, please. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 20, and then 2 online. I count Carrie and Betty as opposing. That's correct? Okay. So that is 20 for no and 14 for yes. So the motion fails. We're back to the original letter that is what has been presented.
Which we will vote on
at the end
yeah. When we do all of our other votes. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
we are going to move to our last letter of the evening. This is a letter to NYCHA development team regarding the proposed Fulton Elliott Chelsea interim repair plan. This came out of exec largely because it is a result of two committees that are represented, Housing, Health and Human Services, as well as Chelsea Land Use in our meetings in preparation for presentations from the development team to these committees. And so a few comments on the letter specifically. We received some friendly amendments to just characterize where this request or where this suggestion is coming from, the request is coming from, which is this group representing the two committees, as well as to place the ask further up, which we'll be happy to accommodate. I do want to note that, again, because of the two committees, I'm presenting here the letter now, but if there are specific questions about the rationale for this, beyond what is noted in the letter, which is primarily that both this is what we're asking for is consistent with other RAD for PRAC deals, but also what we have heard from the Tenants Association and others about their significant concern and our significant concern about NYCHA delivering on the needed repairs that have been so long neglected, and recognizing that the work that whatever happens is still many, many years away, and that immediate action needs to be taken to ensure that repairs are made. But with that, if there are questions, and I'm happy to take them and want to acknowledge, I'm going to call on my colleagues to help respond to them. But if Joe, you want to say something first.
Yes, because this letter started out with two committees and then we are confused on some versions, I wanted to offer some amendments for clarity. And also, just to make it easier, on line 19, we note that building repairs are laughable and defies the trust. I recommend we just say that they are implausible and undercuts the trust. In combining these letters, we had a lot of folks, we talked about this among ourselves. We dropped out the paragraph about the April 5th meeting from this version. So it asked us to put that back in because we met twice about this issue, April 5th and May 3rd. So it's clear that this was a period of time. Also, a sentence in here that just makes it clear that we're not, by putting this letter out, we are not supporting the current proposed or any modified plan at this time, just for clarity's sake, so everyone understands that. And the last is I did confirmation from the, I spoke to a number of attorneys who represented RADPAC developers. All other RADPAC deals, day one, the development partner takes over the interim repairs. So we can say that with certainty that has happened, irrespective of anything else. And that finally, in the last paragraph, to make it clear, MCB4 cannot support NYCHA remaining responsible for interim repairs during any redevelopment period, which could be currently proposed up to 8 years. So it's very clear we're not talking about a small amount of time here.
Thank you, Joe. I think those are all, will help clarify. Bert, and then we'll go to Dolores, and then we'll come back. Is it on? It's not on.
No, he didn't want a hot mic.
Actually, I voted for the letter in exec, but listening to people speak this evening, it dawned on me that, and I think you might have addressed this. Community Board 4 has not taken a position on the redevelopment, on the proposal. On the current proposal, we have not taken a position, and I think it should be clear up front in this letter that what we're saying here does not mean that we want to go forward with the proposal. We have not taken a position. This is something very specific right now, but we're not taking a position. We have not taken a position. We will eventually, I hope, take a position, but we have not yet, and it should be very clear.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Bert. Dolores?
So Bert pretty much was summarizing what my biggest concern was. This letter's not clear. It sounds like we're taking a position, and I think that there's a lot that needs to be reworded. Joe, the line that you just quoted, the laughable, it's not consistent with how we speak as a board, and I was a little bit concerned about this. So I do think that this needs to really be cleaned up so that we are very clear, as Bert just said, that we are not taking a position and just to state what our concerns are by this change. Simply that.
Thank you, Dolores. There's other comments, so we'll go to Paul, and then you'll pass the mic.
Yeah, Joe, somebody could maybe clarify. One of the public comments was that the two campuses are being treated separately under the proposal. And could you help clarify that and how, because in this letter, we say FEC as one. And so can you help clarify that, please?
I think if we make this broader and make it clear that we have not taken a position, and regardless of any proposal, how it proceeds, that we do not, that as in any rad pack deal, which we've taken a position on that. Everyone should know, like 3 years ago, we took a position, we support the rad pack conversion, right? But that was for a renovation plan. And in that support, it was expected that day one of the conversion, the private partner would do interim repairs. I understand that,
right.
that's what we're saying, right?
So, yeah. So that was my point. We heard that the deal was not signed and there is no conversion and there is no deal. So the question is what happens between now and the deal? Then what happened after the deal is signed?
In other developments, a rad pack development partner can sign a license agreement with NYCHA before the deal is signed to do interim repairs. And that's what actually, and that has happened across the city. And that's what can happen here. The most important part is it's the private development partner that comes in that does it, not NYCHA continuing for 8 or 9 years subsequently. That's
But what I heard at the same time is that people were concerned that by asking Related to come in, it was putting the foot in the door. And therefore there was.
I just think I want to note that Related has already been designated as the rad pack partner by NYCHA. And now they're doing the full business deal and then going through the public approvals, but they have been designated.
And in addition to that, they have already begun providing other services that they have presented to us on, including security, extermination, and that this was always part of the plan.
So we need to clarify all those steps and then express the fact that they have started to provide services and they should provide the rest of the services. But I heard a lot of concern that this was opening the door.
We have to make sure this does not act like construing our support for the overall deal. That's the main thing.
I just want to echo the words of Bert and Dolores and Christine. I think this went through exec because I think everyone's really outraged that it was kind of a bait and switch. They said that Essence and Related were going to do the work. And then all of a sudden they said, no, now they're not going to do the work. And everyone's like, what? They promised it. But I think members of the public brought up a serious, really great point that the wording in this letter, as it is now, and I know there have been amendments or changes, I should say, that it does open the door that we're saying, by even saying Essence Related, to start the work, you have to do the work, that we're kind of, I don't want to say giving a stamp of approval on that, but we are inching our way towards that. And as Bert said, we haven't made that determination yet. And I think that wording makes me a little nervous. So I don't know if others feel the same way.
Thank you. I think we're hearing that. I think we've heard that in the suggestion of language that talks about honoring the agreement that has been already provided. Jeffrey?
Just real quickly, 2 things. One, I'm P&E on this letter, but commenting accordingly. There's things that need to run on parallel tracks for the discussion that we're having around this. And I think what's very important is that the expectation is that these repairs were supposed to have begun already, and they have not. And that is what is still most offensive, is that we had expectations. They have so far so wholly underperformed that well heard on all the language, and all of it, not endorsing anything, but really standing up for the repairs that were previously expected, and that the intensity of this letter needs to be short and sweet, which is why the chronology is important, and recognizing we sort of do not endorse anything, but for the fact these repairs need to happen, and it shouldn't come from the entity that for 50 years have failed our neighbors, not just in Chelsea, but across the city.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Katie?
Thanks. And I guess I'm supporting what Jeffrey just said, but to just clarify, earlier I heard a comment, I believe it was Dolores, who said we shouldn't be taking a position. And I just want to be clear. I think I think what we're all saying is we don't want to take a position on whether it's demolition or renovations or whatever, but we are taking a position in this letter that we want Essence Related to start the repairs immediately. So we are taking a position on the repairs. We're not taking a position on big picture, what's happening. But I just wanted to be clear, we are taking a position and I support the letter.
Thank you. Josephine, do you have a mic or you can pass that back?
I think there's been some discussion on the past if, Related should even be doing this work at all. And I just want to ask Joe, like specifically, what will the letter say now? Because right now I'm not really comfortable with it because we just don't, there's so many unanswered questions and we don't even know, like you said, there's a license that can happen before the actual agreement, but really they've given us so much bull basically since this whole thing began. And basically the letter saying, yes, we still want you to do this work, even though you've, basically not kept your word on anything. So what is the letter actually going to say that we're voting on?
Let me summarize it. I think we talked about it a lot, but summary will help. First, we are going to make it very clear that we have not taken any position on this current proposal, and we do not support this current proposal. We have, in fact, in the past, supported the RAD PAC conversion of Chelsea NYCHA. We'll say that because we are on record on doing that. That as part of any RAD PAC conversion, the private development partner does interim repairs on the way to renovation, or in this case, some redevelopment. We are asking that it be done the same way here, and that NYCHA not be in control during any development period, whether that is new construction, renovation, or renovation. We want this to be treated like any other RAD PACT thing. And I will say it is not just Related. In this case, it is NYCHA that is talking about permitting this out of the ordinary thing. And the last part is, no matter what plan moves ahead, we want to make it clear that we cannot support NYCHA continuing to be in charge of repairs. And we will note that in the document that was given to the board, there were 71 line items for repairs. That Related would only be involved in 12. NYCHA would continue the others for the next 8 years. And that would be a disaster for these tenants. So is that, Josephine, a summary part, or is there more missing that I didn't hit?
Okay, thank you. Christine, did you have a question? And then I want to.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused that we are making that letter on the assumption that the RAD PAC conversion is the way to go and the way forward. But
our board has already supported a RAD PAC
no, I know. But I'm saying in reality, there is another plan, and they are pursuing another plan. So the other plan being the demolition. Right?
No, that is actually a version of RAD PAC that we've never seen before in the city. So there's a RAD PAC conversion. Related's been designated as the private development partner today, and they've already gotten a license from NYCHA to do interim repairs. That all exists today. What we are having a huge community dispute and discussion about is what form that RAD PAC conversion has. And the proposal in front of us is that it's a full demolition proposal, which we never heard about until July of last year.
Okay.
And the tenants and everyone else are up in arms about.
Okay, Viren has a Christine, you're good. Oh, Viren has a comment, and then I do want to bring this home.
Just a quick question, Joe. Can we ask them to do an interim contractual sort of arrangement of some sort, which doesn't tie itself into the overall larger plan, that this must be done in the interim, irrespective of what position CB4 takes?
My answer is absolutely yes, because that's our intent in this letter.
Can we include that?
I think we should we want to be explicit language with that.
Sure.
Got you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all for the discussion. We are going to move on to the voting. I believe we have to handle tonight's voting differently than normal because we have a ULURP. And so we'll do an individual roll call or call on that. And then we'll bundle, I don't know, then
Just
we'll do the vote as we
point
go.
of clarification on that. I think historically we did it still, each person was called individually and you announced your ULURP vote separately standalone.
Great,
And then we did all the others. And I think that was quicker.
great. Thank you.
Sorry,
I'll turn it
Jessica.
over to, no, thank you. I'll turn over to Katie and Alice to lead us. Number one is the ULURP. Yes, number one is the ULURP.
It's only a proposal. The conversion hasn't started. We have not been converting until that time. We're still 19.
Okay,
It's okay.
so I'm going to read names, and then again, just for clarification, what I'd like each person to say is how they're voting on the ULURP, and then how they're voting on all the rest of the letters. Okay, and again, the ULURP is letter number one. Okay, and I'm going to repeat your name and your vote. Yes. Can you hear Jesse in my ear right now? Okay, so I'm starting with Ted. Great. Roberta, is she here? Oh, sorry. Ted says, oh, well done, Paul. Props to Paul. What Ted said was yes to the ULURP, yes on everything else, except no on letter 16. Roberta is not here. Next, Christine Bertay. Including the ULURP. Okay, so Christine said yes to the ULURP, yes to all letters except no on letter 16. Gwen. So Gwen, I believe, is saying yes to the ULURP, yes to all the other letters except no on 16. Leslie. Leslie abstains on letter 17, says yes to the ULURP and yes to everything else. Viren. Yes to everything? Great. Viren said yes to the ULURP and yes to everything else. Liam. Yes to the ULURP, no on 16, yes to the rest. Thank you. Kevin. Great. Kevin says yes to the ULURP and yes to everything else. Lisa, David. Not here. Marty.
Yes to one, yes to.
Yes to the ULURP, yes to everything else. Paul. Okay. Yes to the ULURP, yes to everything else, no on 16. Pete Diaz. Yes to one and yes to all. Wendy Gonzalez. Yes to one and yes to the rest. Max Goodstein. All right, so Max confirmed. So you are P&E on 1 and 10. You're voting no on 16, yes to the rest. Matt Green. Yes to 1, abstain on 17, yes to the rest. Jesse Greenwald. Yes to 1 and yes to the rest. Candace. Yes to 1 and yes to the rest. David Haluka. Yes to 1 and yes to the rest. Frank. Yes to 1, yes to the rest. Josephine. Yes to 1, abstain on 17, yes to the rest. Inga. Not here. Carrie.
Yes to 1, no to 7, and yes to the rest.
Yes to 1, you said. No to 7.
Yes.
And yes to the rest.
Thank you.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So she said no on 7, yes on everything else. Ella. Yes to 1, yes to the rest. Raul. Okay, yes to the ULURP, abstaining on 15, 16, and 17, yes to the rest. Bert? I'm sorry, you were no on what? Okay. So yes to the ULURP, no on 16, yes to the rest. Chris LeBron, here? Not here. Rachel? Yes to the ULURP, yes to the rest. Jeffrey?
Yes on the ULURP. Present not eligible on 5, 12, and 17. Yes to the rest.
Okay. P&E 5, 12, and 17, yes to the ULURP, yes to the rest. James McDonald? No to 16, yes on the ULURP, yes to the rest. Betty?
Yes on the ULURP and yes to the rest.
Yes on the ULURP, yes to the rest. Sanford? Yes on the ULURP, yes to the rest. Janice? You said you're abstaining on 16 and 17, and yes to the rest. Great, thank you. Gregory? All right, Gregory's trying to be difficult, make it complicated for me, but I think what we have going on here is that
Sorry,
that
Mike
is-
Noble, can you, thank you.
that's no on letters 7 and 16, P&E on letters 2 and 10, yes to the rest. Great, thank you. Tina Nelson? Yes to the ULURP, yes to the rest. Mike Noble?
Yes to ULURP, no on 16, P&E on 17, yes to the rest.
So that's yes on the ULURP, no on 16, P&E on 17, yes to the rest. JD? Yes to 1, yes to the rest. Maria? No, she's not here tonight. Alan? Yes on 1, yes to the rest. Brad? Was Brad? All right, so that was abstain on 15, no on 16, yes to the rest. Joe? Yes on 1, yes to the rest. Dolores? Yes on 1, yes to the rest. Katie Savage? Yes on 1, yes to the rest. Me? Yes on 1, yes to the rest. Me is Katie Stokes. Hector is not here. David Warren? Okay, so that was abstaining on letters 16 and 17. Yes to the rest. Somebody is jamming music. Rodney? That was no on letter 16, yes to the rest. Alice? Yes to 1, yes to the rest. And last but not least, we are back to Jessica. Yes on 1, yes to the rest. I think that's everybody.
Before folks leave, we are now joined by Gail Brewer, who would like to share some remarks. Gail, we're delighted you're here. We have concluded our business portion and folks are going to get antsy. But we will turn it over to you for some brief remarks.
Thank you very much. I will be very, very brief because I'm in a cab. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, so on cannabis, I think we finally have the attention of the sheriff because he's closed 3 in Board 7 in the last couple of days, and we will keep working to close more and more and more. It's incredibly important. Secondly, Thanks to Jesse, we did a walkthrough in the 56th, 59th Street areas. I'm sure you saw, and we were working to follow up. In terms of graffiti, we now have paint from the United States Post Office. And so we're going to be working during the summer with the interns to paint all the mailboxes, get rid of the graffiti. Public bathrooms. We actually did a survey today with interns. I know the mayor has announced he's going to do bathrooms, but I am very focused. And so we're making a list of all the bathrooms that don't work in District 6. I hate the 5G towers, so I'm trying to get rid of them. And on bills, we're most focused just on some resolutions that will help increase the amount that you can make if you are on screen injury. It's a state issue, so we're basically pushing for that. And then on the 21st, which is Solstice, Make Music New York, we will be at Baisley Park, 9th Avenue on 57th Street. And I hope you will all join us, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail, and thank you all to the board for indulging her. Can I get a motion to